They said she was the angel of the maternity ward, but at night, the angel wore another face, a nurse who smiled by day and burned secrets by night. It began here, under the midnight sky. Nurse Grace, always smiling, always watching. Do it fast, burn it, no evidence. But the fire did not silence everything. Dear God, what is this? Did you hear that? They called her the angel of the maternity ward. If you asked any woman who had given birth at St. Francis Hospital in the last 5 years, they would all mention her name with tears of gratitude. Nurse Grace, she was the one who stayed through the night when labor stretched into hours of screaming and sweat. She was the one who gave free diapers when a new mother couldn't afford any. She bought baby clothes for twins whose father had abandoned them. Oh, the stories were many. When she walked through the dusty hospital gate every morning, people greeted her like a saint. God bless you, nurse. May your children never lack. She always smiled, always. The kind of smile that made people trust her without asking questions. But in the quiet corners of the hospital among the other nurses, there were whispers. Have you noticed how rich she's become? One would murmur while folding bedsheets. Her salary can't buy that gold necklace, another would reply, eyes darting toward the maternity ward door. No one spoke too loudly, because in that hospital, Nurse Grace was untouchable. Even the chief matron joked that if Nurse Grace ever left, the hospital would crumble. Everything changed the day Mama Ngozi gave birth. It was supposed to be a day of joy. She had waited 6 years for a child. She sang hymns during her pregnancy, telling everyone how God had finally heard her prayers. But when the baby came, the cry was too short, too weak. Nurse Grace stepped out of the delivery room with that same smile, but this time, it felt different. I'm sorry, she said softly. The baby didn't make it. Mama Ngozi sat up on the bed. Where is my child? Let me see him. They handed her a small bundle. She opened it and screamed. This is not my baby! Her voice cracked through the ward. Where is my child? This is not him! Mothers rushed in from nearby beds. Nurses tried to calm her, but Mama Ngozi tore at her hair, shaking the lifeless body. This nose, these hands, this is not my son. Where is my son? The hospital authorities called it grief. She is in shock, the doctor said. She doesn't know what she's saying, Nurse Grace whispered, patting her back with that same smile. But deep inside, some people began to wonder and to fear. That night, St. Francis Maternity Hospital slept under a quiet moon. But Nurse Grace didn't sleep. While the other nurses laughed softly in the break room over roasted corn and palm wine, she was in the maternity ward, checking on every new mother, every baby. Her shoes made no sound on the tile floor. Everyone trusted her. That was their mistake. 3 nights later, another mother screamed. Her name was Amina, a poor farmer's wife. She gave birth to a baby girl after 13 hours of labor. At midnight, the baby suddenly died. No one knew why. No one questioned the report Dr. Fabian signed. But Amina swore by the ancestors that the baby they handed her was not hers. This girl I carried for 9 months had a mark on her shoulder, she cried, her voice shattering the ward. This body, there is no mark. Where is my child? They told her the same thing they told Mama Ngozi. It is grief. She is in shock. She doesn't know what she's saying. But the whispers among the nurses grew louder. 2 babies in 1 week, both at night, and Nurse Grace on duty both times? Shh, do you want trouble? Because in that hospital, trouble had a name, and that name was Grace. Every few weeks, a black SUV with tinted windows stopped behind the hospital after midnight. The driver never spoke. The man in the back seat, people only called him Chief Adoga, carried the smell of money and fear. Politicians visited his mansion. Police saluted him on the road. And Nurse Grace handed him things. Bundles wrapped in white, small, silent bundles. Sometimes bloodied sanitary pads sealed in black nylon. Sometimes umbilical cords. Sometimes entire bodies of babies who had died hours earlier. Chief Adoga always counted the money first. Good work, he would say, his deep voice carrying the weight of dark promises. And Nurse Grace always smiled. That smile that never reached her eyes. The junior nurses suspected. One even followed her once, but came back pale, trembling, lips sealed. Why didn't you report her? A colleague asked. The girl only shook her head. Some things are bigger than our jobs." Curiosity pulled him closer. And then one night, Deacon Samuel, praying alone in the hospital chapel, heard footsteps behind the maternity ward. He followed the sound through the back corridor, past the laundry lines, past the empty water tanks. And there, he froze. Nurse Grace, smiling as always, poured kerosene on a tiny body wrapped in white. Chief Adoga stood beside her. The match flared. The flames rose. Deacon Samuel clutched his Bible so tight his knuckles went white, and in the crackle of the fire, he swore he heard it. A baby's faint, impossible cry. That was the night the angel of the maternity ward began to fall. The night Deacon Samuel saw the fire, he didn't sleep. He didn't eat the next morning. In church, he sang the hymns, but his mind was somewhere else, behind the hospital, where flames licked the night sky and a dead child screamed through fire like the voice of judgment itself. What had he just witnessed? The angel of the maternity ward? Selling dead children to... who? For what? The memory refused to leave him alone. 3 days later, Mama Ngozi returned to the hospital. She came barefoot, hair loose, voice hoarse from crying. "Bring me my baby!" New mothers clutched their children closer. Nurses begged her to leave. Dr. Fabian, tall and calm as always, stepped out of his office. His voice carried that gentle authority he used in church on Sundays. "Madam, please. The hospital has explained everything. Your baby didn't make it. We understand your pain. My pain?" She laughed, the kind of laugh that made the air heavy. "Do you think I don't know my own child?" Her finger shook as she pointed at Nurse Grace, standing at the door with her usual smile. "She knows. She knows where my baby is." All eyes turned to Grace. She didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Instead, she walked to Mama Ngozi, held her hand softly like a pastor praying for a sinner, and said, "My sister, grief makes us see ghosts. Go home, rest." And that smile, oh, that smile could convince even the sun to set at noon. But in the corner, Deacon Samuel watched silently. He knew. That evening, he found Sister Rebecca, the youngest nurse, washing instruments alone. He whispered everything he had seen. The SUV, the fire, the baby's cry. Her face drained of color. "You saw it too?" she asked. "Too?" Rebecca hesitated. 2 months ago. I followed her one night. Chief Adoga was there. They carried something in a sack. When she saw me, she gave me 50,000 naira, said I should forget what I saw. Why didn't you speak? Rebecca's eyes darted toward Dr. Fabian's office. His shadow moved behind the curtain. Because Fabian is in on it. And Adoga? He can make people disappear. Meanwhile, the night trade continued. Every time a newborn died on Nurse Grace's shift, a black SUV rolled in after midnight. Placenta, umbilical cord, sometimes entire bodies. Money changed hands. Gold bracelets multiplied on Nurse Grace's arms. The junior nurses looked away. Some were tipped. Others were too afraid to ask questions. But fear has a way of turning into anger. When Mama Ngozi's story reached the market square, women began to talk. 2 more mothers came forward, babies gone at night, faces covered, handed bodies that didn't look right. One swore her baby had been alive when she heard the first cry, yet was declared dead minutes later. And always, Nurse Grace was on duty. Deacon Samuel made up his mind. This secret was too heavy. That Sunday after service, he walked into the police station and demanded to see Inspector Bako. The inspector listened, frowning, tapping his pen. "Do you have proof?" "Proof?" Deacon Samuel laughed bitterly. "The proof was in the fire. The proof is buried behind the hospital." Bako leaned back in his chair. "You know who Chief Adoga is, right? Men like him don't go to prison. They build prisons." "I don't care," Samuel said. "Children are dying. Mothers are screaming. Someone must stop this." The inspector's eyes softened. She stormed through the maternity ward, screaming loud enough for the whole village to hear. "Then bring me something solid. A picture, a video, a record, something the whole world can't ignore." And that was when Samuel and Sister Rebecca began to plan. They didn't know the danger they were walking into. Because once you start digging up graves, the dead don't always stay quiet. It started with a photo. One blurry photo, taken by Sister Rebecca with trembling hands from the maternity ward window at 2:17 a.m. The black SUV, the white bundle in Nurse Grace's arms, the flames behind the hospital fence. She sent it to Deacon Samuel with one line: "The world will believe us now." 2 days later, it was everywhere. Phones buzzed in the market square. On Facebook, the caption screamed, "Angel of the maternity ward or angel of death? Who is Nurse Grace?" The photo spread faster than wind over dry grass. Women who had once blessed her name now whispered curses under their breath. And the whispers grew into shouts when Mama Ngozi stormed the hospital gates again. This time, she didn't come alone. 20 mothers followed her, each with her own story of a baby gone too soon, a baby whose face didn't match, a baby whose cry was cut short too quickly. Dr. Fabian came out, white coat flapping in the wind, face tight with fake concern. "My people," he began, hands raised like a peacekeeper. "Let us be calm. These are serious accusations. We will investigate." But Mama Ngozi cut him off, voice shaking with rage. "Investigate! You buried the truth with our children. We want answers!" She pointed at Nurse Grace, standing in the doorway, still smiling, though her eyes had lost some of their shine. "Ask her!" Ngozi shouted. "Ask the angel of the maternity ward what she does at night!" The crowd roared its agreement. Inside the hospital, some nurses started talking. One admitted seeing Grace accept envelopes of cash at night. Another confessed she was paid to look the other way during certain deliveries. A cleaner whispered about bloodied sacks taken to the back fence. It was no longer rumor. It was testimony. Chief Adoga did not like this. That evening, his men visited Sister Rebecca's house. They didn't speak much. They didn't have to. One smashed her phone on the floor. Another leaned close and whispered, "Delete the photo, or next time it won't be the phone." Then they left just like that into the night. Rebecca locked herself in, shaking. But it was too late. Deacon Samuel had already given the photo and his eyewitness account to Inspector Bacco. The inspector called for reinforcements. "Get me every record from that hospital," he told his men. Births, deaths, night shifts, everything. The next Sunday, the church was full, not for worship, for gossip. People wanted to see the angel of the maternity ward sitting in her usual pew, head held high like nothing was wrong. But Nurse Grace didn't come, and that absence spoke louder than any sermon. In the hospital, things fell apart quickly. Mothers refused to leave their babies unattended. 2 junior nurses resigned without warning. One doctor vanished overnight. People said he fled to another state. Inspector Bacco called Dr. Fabian in for questioning. He smiled the whole time, showing perfect teeth. "Inspector," he said smoothly, "you have no proof of anything illegal. Babies die every day, tragic but natural." Bacco's eyes were cold. "At midnight? Always on the same shift? Always the same nurse signing the reports?" Fabian only adjusted his tie. Coincidence. But sweat crawled along his hairline. And then came the night the USB drive appeared on Bacco's desk. No one knew who left it. On it were recordings, grainy, shaky, but clear enough. Nurse Grace handing over a tiny body to Chief Adoga. Fabian signing death papers minutes later. Bundles of cash changing hands. Everything. By the next morning, the whole town was on fire. Women wailed outside the hospital gates. Journalists swarmed the compound with cameras. Police trucks blocked every entrance. And for the first time in years, Nurse Grace did not smile. It was still dark when the police trucks rolled into St. Francis Maternity Hospital. Blue and red lights cut through the mist like knives. Villagers gathered at the gates, lanterns glowing in their hands. Women held pictures of babies lost too soon. Men sharpened machetes on the roadside stones. Inspector Bacco led the raid. His face was carved from stone. He carried the USB recordings. He carried witness statements. He carried the whispers of the entire town. And tonight, he carried handcuffs. "This is getting out of hand," he muttered, sweat soaking his collar. Nurse Grace stood by the window, her gold bracelets glittering faintly. "They have no proof," she said softly, though her voice lacked its usual confidence. Fabian slammed his desk. "Proof? There are videos, Grace, videos! Who filmed it? Who betrayed us?" Grace's eyes narrowed. "It was that little nurse, Rebecca. She's been watching me." At the gate, the crowd grew restless. Mama Ngozi was at the front, her voice like thunder. "Bring out the angel of death! Bring out the woman who steals our children!" The villagers roared with her. When the police finally broke open the maternity ward doors, everything happened fast. Nurses screamed, patients ran down hallways clutching newborns, mothers blocked the exits, shouting for justice. Inspector Bacco moved through the chaos like a man chasing ghosts. "Find Grace!" he barked. "Find Fabian! Lock down every room!" Grace slipped through a back corridor toward the parking lot, her white uniform ghost-like under the flickering lights. But Sister Rebecca was waiting there. Her phone camera pointed directly at Grace's face. "Running, nurse," she said, voice shaking but loud enough for everyone to hear. "Running like the babies you sold?" For the first time in years, Grace did not smile. The police cornered her near the staff quarters. Chief Adoga's black SUV roared into the hospital gates, soldiers with rifles jumping out. "Everyone, calm down," he boomed. But then came the sound that froze the air. A mother's wail, high, raw, terrible. Two men carried out a sack from the morgue. Inside was a baby's body, one of many. The crowd exploded. Stones smashed into Adoga's SUV, windows shattered. Police shields locked as chaos swallowed the compound. Grace was dragged to the police van, gold bracelets flashing under the streetlights. For the first time since anyone could remember, she cried. Gunshots cracked when Dr. Fabian tried to run. Adoga's men fought back. By dawn, arrests were everywhere. The news spread like wildfire. Chief Adoga faced the cameras. No smile now. Dr. Fabian was found in his mansion. Stacks of cash, fake death certificates, forged hospital records. And in Grace's locker? A red ledger. Names, dates, babies, money. Inspector Bacco held it up. "This wasn't just one nurse," he said. "This was a network feeding a ritual industry. We're coming for everyone." But victory felt hollow. Yes, Grace was gone. Yes, Adoga was behind bars. Yes, Fabian was facing trial. But the mother still cried. Mama Ngozi stood at the locked hospital gates, baby cloth in her hands. "They said the devil lived in shrines," she whispered. "But he was wearing a nurse's uniform all along." Grace sat in her prison cell. No gold bracelets now, no bright uniforms, just cold walls and colder nights. "They paid me to deliver death in the name of life," she told a warder once. "Cut off my hand. The chain will grow another." And she was right. 1 week later, police arrested a man in another town, carrying a cooler filled with things. The ledger's name stretched across states. The hospital reopened months later, but mothers refused to sleep after childbirth. Nurses demanded witnesses on night shifts. And sometimes, under the midnight wind, villagers swore they heard it. The faint cry of a baby,